It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. And welcome, everybody, to our Tuesday show, our 1687th episode of our Daily Gun Show. Got a little co-host over here being licky. That's not a good sign. When he wakes up being licky, he usually wants to go do something outside. But hopefully he'll go back to bed. Today it's Tuesday, and we do the show in the afternoon, morning on Tuesdays. And on Tuesdays, our goal is to talk about content creation. We do some coaching, do some inspiration, some motivation, hopefully, some information, if possible. And today we're going to hopefully have an interactive show. So we do this show live. I definitely appreciate the interactive nature of the internet, and we appreciate people that join us live. We're going to do some polls today to give the people that are joining us live a chance to participate in the show a little more than normal. And if you're listening to this in the future as a podcast, which most people do, then you're able to participate as well, of course, in the comments, and you'll just be doing it as sort of a time traveler. All right, so in order to facilitate the show today, I went ahead and put the show notes over into our Substack, which is essentially a blog. It's a blog system that people can subscribe to and get them in their emails, kind of like a newsletter if they want, or just go to the site and read them. It's just I like the formatting over here for these shows. Even though this is a podcast, we record this as a live YouTube video, so instead of having nothing on the screen or just the puppy, we have some content here. So we're taking a look at our Substack for this show called Leveling Up Your Content, Conquering the Trends in 2024. So we definitely have a lot of options available to us as content creators, as phones get better, as software gets more quick and efficient, and a lot of things are free, really. There's a lot of inexpensive options as well. So let's dig in. And this is an effort to, again, like have conversations about this stuff, because with more people creating content, we're better off. But it's just also interesting, and there's not really a lot of rules out there, not a lot of guidelines. So nice to have people to chat with about these topics in real life and not just theoretically. And maybe even about your own projects, which can be different than the norm or whatever the typical discussions points are about. Snob is joining us. Welcome. Hopefully other people will join in. We pretty much know whose vote is whose now, but we'll wait on that to see if we get some more votes going on. But there is a poll going now, the first poll of the day. We have about 5 of them, I think, ready to go. The first one, though, will run for the first 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully everybody jumps in here quickly from the alerts and participates. But the question is, what's your primary goal as a content creator in 2024? And so far we have a couple of votes, but the options are grow audience. Second one is increase engagement. The next one is generate more revenue. The last one is build a strong community. They overlap a bit. Some of them need to do things to do the others, but they all have their own focus. So feel free to vote. We have some other polls going on for some of the other talking points, and we'll change that poll out in a little bit. But feel free to also leave a comment on why you chose what you did. Maybe what you want to plan on doing if you have any questions, of course. And let's dig in. So shifting priorities. What are the biggest shifts in content creator goals compared to 2023. So suggestions are like revenue, audience growth, community building, the items in this first poll, for example. So there's some metrics beyond the vanity metrics, they call them, and those have to do with who you're reaching and how you're reaching them. Like, are you reaching them on the surface, or are you reaching them more deeply? It also has to do with your relationships with the industry. And if you're reaching, let's say, bolt action handgun hunters, people that are maybe climbing up crazy vertical situations where they don't want to carry a rifle, maybe hiking really long distances into a plains or something for antelope. I don't know why you'd shoot with a pistol, honestly, but they do make these bolt action pistols. So if you've got that audience and people are coming to you for that, then you don't need to have necessarily a lot of views. There's just not going to be a lot of views on that. You could come up with a whole bunch of fringe things, and that's the neat thing about being fringe, is there's a lot of them. So because there's a lot, they're not guaranteed, and they are just one aspect, I guess. But that is something that again, you can own that. Maybe it's people who are bus drivers and like to talk about 2A. Maybe it's truck drivers who want to do something at the truck stops or something. Some kind of an awareness campaign at truck stops or something, and you're the person that's got the focus on that. You don't have to have necessarily the largest viewership. So that's why people suggest that the vanity metrics aren't all that important. And honestly, when you're talking to people, depending on who you're talking to and why you're talking to them, most people that are in the know understand that the numbers that are on the surface sometimes what they really mean and what they don't mean always. But knowing your metrics is important, so it's easy to talk about these things. Understanding how to dig them out and record them and keep track, what to keep track of, how often to keep track of them. These are all things that I've seen people be discouraged by. Looking at metrics too often is a waste of time, honestly. You wouldn't look at your speedometer 100% of the time while you're driving. You'd be a reckless driver, right? You wouldn't go anywhere. You'd be more concerned about what the dial says than which turn to make. So you'd probably be a pretty bad driver if you only paid attention, or you paid attention too much to your speedometer. On the other hand, if you never pay attention to your speedometer, you're reckless also, right? You're just driving around recklessly. So even though you know when to make a corner, you might not be able to make the corner. And then there's just the knowing when to be at the same speed as others. So just because you can go fast doesn't mean you should. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So understanding some of those things can be when to look at them and how to look at them can be pretty useful. And then how to present those. If we're going to be talking about monetization here in a bit, knowing those numbers is useful, but knowing how to present those and who to present which numbers can also be a factor or a challenge. Foss is saying that I hear that Snob does not pay attention to his speedometer. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Snob drive. Or I guess Gizzard said that, right? So again, thanks everybody for joining us. If you're joining us, be sure to vote in the polls. We're going to get a bunch of them today, so I'm going to end this poll sooner than later. In fact, probably when we get to the next discussion point, right? So the purpose-driven content, exploring the rise of creators focusing on social impact, education, and niche communities over solely entertainment-driven content. See, I'm not good at keeping my finger on that pulse, so I have no idea how the general audiences are out there and their focus on entertainment versus information. I only like creating information. I'm only interested in information type of topic. So I very rarely, if I watch a movie or something, to watch entertainment, but I don't watch YouTube I don't think I watch YouTube at all for entertainment other than to talk about movies or something. So just for me, I don't really pay attention to that stuff as far as the entertainment side, but I'm sure that's a lot of fun for a lot of people. And it's probably a big chunk of YouTube. However, it's an election year. 2024 is what we're talking about here, not just content creation in general. So going into 2024, focusing on information, awareness, letting people discover things or helping people to discover things is going to be much more useful. And, do you have a purpose for your content? We talked about the poll over here. Some of the other polls will get into some of the other aspects of content creation. But, if you're solely creating content to add another salty snack to the mix, then honestly, the recipes I talk about aren't going to be useful for you. You want the recipes that just plow through audiences and reap money out of them. That's pretty easy to do. You just have to be ruthless. You just have to not care about your wake, what you've left behind when you do that. But none of these strategies are going to be very useful for people with that goal. But if you've got a purpose-driven goal, it can be very frustrating if you don't find the people that share your drive, you don't share your interest, and that would be one goal, perhaps, instead of trying to grow an audience, trying to find the people who share your passion, for example, might be a focus for the year. So, having a focus on impact and awareness and in giving voice to communities that don't have voice is always critically important, especially in the Second Amendment community, or our, what would we call it? I guess it's our community and the industry, I guess, but the community really, because there's definitely unrepresented factors from our community, giant unrepresented portions of our community. So adding voices for them is, you never know. In fact, if you really want a shortcut, I know a couple of shortcuts that you could get to if you really have a focus on impact. But I'm not going to say those publicly because exploiters will use them. So Foss is saying I'm kind of infotainment. Yep, I really like your style of just having fun with a purpose. Anybody can have fun, and some people like to intentionally have no purpose. I understand that, just being absurd or whatever. But honestly, if we're spending time doing this, you only got so much time on this time around on the planet. I don't know how your feelings are about how many times around you get to go on the planet, but at this time in 2024, we're all experiencing our time on the planet. So, you can be frivolous or you can put that to use. And I really appreciate your focus on use. Often, not always. So then we got mental health and sustainability, and that's a critical thing in 2024 with the number of players in the mix and the options that are available for people and the changes. Keeping your own head is important. We have lost a lot of good people over the years, not because of the illness or death or anything, but because they burnt out. They ground themselves out. They had unrealistic expectations. They weren't able to meet expectations that they had or whatever. So the mental health and sustainability part, I wouldn't say it's critical, but if you're ignoring that, then think of anything professional at this point. Professional drivers, professional military, professional business people, they're all aware of their mental health and the ability to sustain, because you can be peak performance, but if you can only be peak performance once or twice a year, or it takes you 3 years to get peak performance, I just don't think that's it's not a sustainable recipe, but it's not the smartest recipe, because you're able to be pretty peak all the time if you just have a plan. Okay, so we're talking health here, we're talking mental health, and we're talking like expectations. At least I'm thinking expectations, but it says addressing the importance of mental health awareness and self-care within the demanding creator lifestyle, along with sustainable content creation practices. I guess that's an interesting aspect of it too. There's plenty of people that come in and just thrash. They just do whatever they're going to do, and they just don't care about their consequences. They are enjoying the benefits they get for, let's say, being absurd or crazy or weird or something, or argumentative, or whatever the thing is that they're trying to be contrary or something, or just dumb. And, they'll come in, say a bunch of stuff, and there's always people. So there's always going to be new people to see that and think of it as awesome or cool or whatever, and enough people to sustain them for a bit. But then, especially if you're just being dumb or weird, then the people that appreciate that develop and grow, and then they have no interest in that anymore. So you essentially burn out because you don't have audience. You get a little bit of audience because anything get a little bit of audience on the internet, but choosing something that's useful is typically going to give you more long term. So yeah, feel free to leave questions or whatever we're talking about here. Seems like a lecture. So we've got a bunch of votes for the poll. That was the first section here, shift in priorities, or the priorities are in flux, right? And as we go into 2024, now this thing isn't really bringing into the effect the election year, but if you're not adjusting your content creation for the election year, then what the hell? I mean, seriously, are you not paying attention? Like, this is a massively critical part of the United States every 4 years, which makes it an incredibly important part of the entire world. So do you want some international views? Guess who's going to be looking at the United States this year? Now, you don't have to exploit or pander, but you can certainly be aware and be useful. So, ignoring the election and trying to, not pay attention to that or intentionally not get near it, kind of would, I'd like to hear someone challenge that position, because there's a lot of potential here with this year, and there's a lot of need. We're going to get tons of people, like I've said a million times. You're going to see a ton of people you don't see very often. You see them about every 4 years when they know there's money. So every elected person who's going to be running a campaign is going to be desperate to have ads wherever they can. And if you've got any kind of audience that you can identify, or that the internet can identify, then you will have ads that you don't have normally. And there's people that understand that, and they're in business and they go do other things that are lucrative. But when this time of year comes around and they know they can pander to gun people, guess who comes out of the woodwork, so to speak? And all of a sudden we'll see all their, challenges to the blah, 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 and, their videos that go viral or whatever. It's not, at this point, it's certainly not accidental. So anyway, we'll end the poll over here. Your primary goal as a content creator. It looks like we've got only 2 responses. No one voted for growing an audience. No one voted for increasing engagement. The votes were split evenly between generate more revenue and build a strong community. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and grab the next poll. We've got a bunch of them today. So which platform are you most excited about this year? Will be the next poll. And it takes me a second to type this, so I'll say hey to people that are joining us. Feel free to say hey, otherwise I don't know you're joining us, but looks like Chief Fires is joining us. Welcome. Hopefully everything's going good for you on that end of the internet. Snob is out there, Gun Snob. Hopefully all is well. I'm assuming you're taking a break from work. There's a lot of people that do this still full-time, and then there's people that do this along with a full-time gig. And I don't know how often we pay attention to that, because it's been a long time since I wasn't doing this essentially full-time. But that's a whole other set of circumstances that are challenges, I guess. All right, so the poll is, which platform are you most excited about this year? TikTok, YouTube, Instagrams, or another one that you have to specify in the comments. But in addition to Snob, we got Foss out there. Welcome. And then Ozzy saying, hey, welcome from Illinois. Illinois. So we'll scroll back up here and take a look at the platform power plays. As being a person with an open mind and an interest in the internet, and not just figuring something out and squatting on it, I'm constantly paying attention to the other platforms. And when I listen to people who are making money out there, there's money on platforms right now. So there are ways to create income from platforms out there. And, YouTube's one of them, but we're only on one of them here. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to, this is one of them. There's lots of them out there. And it's pretty simple to divide attention amongst multiple platforms for sure. Let's see. So as we get some votes coming in, so far 100% for YouTube. But let's see. So we got niche platform focus, deep diving into specific platforms like Twitch or Patreon or Substack, exploring their advantages and potential for different content types. So it's interesting that it took Patreon and Substack. Excuse me. Those are two that I like a lot. Twitch, I don't like it because the videos disappear. So I've been playing with Rumble, and considering the amount of hassle I had to set up today's show on what is this called? StreamYard, which costs $25 a month. You don't get an option with StreamYard. It's like $25 a month, $0 a month, $25 a month, or even more, like $100 a month or something. So it was actually a pain in the ass to get today's show to launch. And I don't know if it's a server glitch on YouTube side, which I doubt, or on StreamYard side, which I suspect. But I didn't even get the actual description of the video in today. And, there's a lot of reasons why that could be. But at the same time, it's free to use to stream on Rumble. And you get a lot of the features. Mainly the biggest feature I like is this one. Being able to bring people's stuff up over onto the screen. People saying hello, for example. That's pretty neat. And Rumble lets you do that right out the bat for free. I mean, StreamYard does too, but anyway. So it's interesting that they picked Patreon and Substack. I really do like both of these. We're looking at Substack right now. There's a scroll at the bottom of the screen right now. If you look right there, it says, our Patreons make it possible for us to spend time on projects like these. Thank you. And then it has the link there, patreon.com/gunwebsites. I could definitely not be doing this and be doing things that make me more money. So I'm not doing this for the money at all. This is because I feel that there's a lot of potential in individual voices to change the Overton window, essentially, to change the perception of firearms, to normalize them. They have become less than normal when we all understand that they had been a very normal part of our society. So that doesn't get reversed by a giant political figure telling everybody. It doesn't get reversed by a couple of major media players having the interest in making that happen, which they don't, by the way. It does happen, and it has happened often by individuals adding their voices to the mix, which is what the United States is all about. We have a freedom of press, and we have a freedom of speech. And both of those happen on the internet. We use technology, which we've invented, right? We have the ability to communicate, which we're comfortable with as a society, and we all learn and grow. And that happens by individuals throwing their hat in the mix, especially when the individual is interested in something and they see that their interest is not being represented. They can add their voice to the mix. That's the melting pot. That's the soup of America, or the stew of America. So content creators working individually, that's how we see things change here. So I do want to appreciate our Patreons, and that Patreon platform gets a lot of heat because a lot of people don't use it. They don't use it correctly. They get mad at it. They want to blame something, their lack of performance. They want to blame something. So it's the tool. There's people on there that get paid a lot of money probably and don't deserve it. It's just a tool. It's just a feature of the internet. There's a lot of people that use Patreon. You can ignore it all you want, but there's a lot of people that use Patreon and they enjoy venture capital. They enjoy funding things that are not yet funded. And I don't care if you think it's an interesting thing or not. I personally really find it interesting to support people who have a useful voice out there. And there's lots of people like me. So Patreon, by being on a platform like Patreon or one of the others, if you hate Patreon for some reason because your friends doesn't like it or whatever, fine. But there's other platforms out there besides YouTube that allow funding of projects. And we'll talk about why that's important next. But being comfortable on platforms like that is a benefit. It's definitely not a disadvantage in 2024. We're going into a year when there's going to be a lot of people who are frustrated, and we're capitalists, and we're in the United States. We use our wallet a lot. So if you don't have anything out there for your project to be funded, then don't blame other people for your lack of funding. Substack, this is what we're looking at now. It's essentially another blog. I really like Patreon because it's a blog, and I would probably be looking at it. 2 years ago, we would have been looking at it. But thanks to Sharon, up in Washington. She told me about Substack and how it had worked for her for some projects. And I've really enjoyed its formatting, and people can subscribe to you over here. And for me, at least, it's a real hassle to set up a newsletter. So if I can do something in YouTube, copy and paste it over here and add some formatting so it looks decent, I'm satisfied. And now people can subscribe to this as a newsletter, and I don't have to pay for a newsletter. I'm probably going to drop the newsletter service here in a bit. So anyway, this Substack is a great platform. Now, it's not for everybody. Obviously, it's just a thing. It's just for some bunch of words. If you don't like typing everything out, you're never going to want to do this. So there's other platforms out there. People that use these platforms are typically unimpressed by the large platforms. So you're, again, going to find people who are more interested in what you're doing, perhaps because of where you're doing it. Does that make sense? New York Outcast is saying normal isn't even normal anymore. King size is almost regular size, but costs way more. Yeah, I got, what do they call that? I got shrinkflation the other day at the store. I came back from SHOT Show, and normally I have a 16-ounce thing of spinach that I get at the store for $5, and they changed the packaging to use less plastic, and now it's a 10-ounce thing of spinach for the same $5. So, yeah. But, whatever, we could bitch and moan. Guess how much it costs for a thing of spinach for my grandparents or my great-grandparents. So, money's money. Make more money. We're capitalists. Let's get into this next one. Short form versus long form. By the way, all the votes are still for YouTube over there. I know that we're on YouTube right now, but the people that are listening to this are listening to this as a podcast, maybe in their car while they're driving, or while they're at work or something. So maybe shoveling snow. I don't know what people do when they listen to this as a podcast, but you people in the podcast world probably aren't addicted to YouTube like some of us are. What would you vote for? TikTok, YouTube, Instagrams, or some other platform? We're not even getting others out there, which is sort of discouraging. It's a lot more fun when people are constantly exploring the other platforms, and then they can bring those experiences to the table. It can be frustrating when there's a lot of options. There's been a couple of spurts where we've had like a lot of video sharing platforms kind of happen all at once, and there was a bit of frustration trying to figure out which ones to use. Which one's still here? Guntube.org. Just saying, which one's still here? Guntube.org. But anyway, so it's not always a step forward, but if we're not stepping, we're never stepping forward, right? So you got to be able to take a step back once in a while, get a different perspective, figure out what doesn't work, take 2 steps forward. Big deal. So unless you want to stand still, don't be afraid to walk around and do stuff. All right, so let's move on to short form versus long form. Discussing the rise of short form content and its impact on longer form formats. Analyzing how creators can adapt their strategies across platforms. There is no short form. YouTube videos are short form. There used to be documentaries, and then there were TV shows, and then there were YouTube videos. It makes sense that there's going to be shorts, and it makes sense that we're going to get to very short things. We used words, then we used abbreviations, and then we started texting, and now we have emojis. So if you are seriously worried about long form versus short form, grandpa or grandma, come on, man. This isn't even a thing. This is just the evolution of us. Like, yeah, we used to use telephones that were stuck to the wall. We used to have to go buy a telegram. We used to not be able to talk to people far away from us, get used to it. Things are getting shorter because we don't need to hear about everything. We used to have to go, hey, I'm using the www, blah, 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 right? And now we don't have to say www anymore because we all know what www is. So yeah, things are getting shorter because we're all smarter than we used to be. So don't get worried about the long form or short form. Master short form. Holy moly, short form makes so much money, it isn't even funny. Like, seriously, I got a debt doing short form. So if you haven't mastered short form, are you creating content or are you creating documentaries? Like, if you're creating anything over 8 minutes, it's not necessary. 8 minutes is the $sign on YouTube. Make it 8 minutes long, you're done. Don't make it shorter than 8 minutes, but you don't have to make it much longer than 8 minutes. And that's short form. Guess what? That's short form. If somebody wants to debate that, come at me. We can have a conversation about it. Let's see. Still, lots more votes coming in as people are joining us. Michael Dunn is out there. Welcome. And DJ's joining us. Hopefully, we haven't talked to DJ since he's been back. Hopefully, everything went well. He left at least 2 things in the room that I found. At least 2 things in the room. But we're still got 100% votes for YouTube over there. How do y'all explain yourselves on that? 2024. Nobody's more ambitious than hanging out on YouTube. All right. Next up is live streaming power. Get ready for this one. Exploring the growing popularity of live streaming platforms and how creators can leverage them for deeper engagement and monetization. I mean, it's going to be hard for anybody to tell me that live streaming isn't the only thing to do, because it's real. Everything else is fake. Every single thing that you see that's produced is fake. Somebody sat around figuring out which scenes to use, how to set those scenes up. It's all fake. So if you want to be presentations, go ahead and watch all the created shit you want. I find it all boring and very, very boring. Pretty much only watch live, and I only appreciate live and podcasts that are live. Somebody else can have different opinions for sure, but pretty sure that's the way things are going. Presented, formulated, whatever, produced shit is kind of still necessary, but everyone knows that has some sort of something behind it. Some sort of opinion. So they're they're picking facts and giving them to you. It's all presented to you. Live stream, you either figure out people or you don't. They're either able to do live stream or they don't. I know that's a frustrating thing for people that have a glitch on live stream, but seriously, unless you live in a house where you don't even talk to people, you can live stream, because live stream is just regularly talking to people. Just get rid of the whole idea that we're talking to a lot of people potentially, and you're just having conversations with people. Oh, I'm not talking about the food. Let's see. Monetization magic. All right, so I guess we'll end the poll, even though we still have more votes coming in, and they're all YouTube. You're allowed to vote for YouTube, but that's like going into a sandwich shop and everybody just ordered a plain mayonnaise sandwich. Can I just have the plain mayonnaise? So just bread and mayonnaise. I don't want the bread toasted, just untoasted bread and mayonnaise, please. All right, so the next poll is, have you tried any new monetization strategies lately? Now we're going to talk about making money on the internet. So a lot of the communists and people that think that only the independently wealthy should be online making money can check out. But in reality, everybody's either doing this out of their hobby budget, or they're attempting to do a side hustle. Guess what? That's valid in the United States. Grandmas used to side hustle with Avon and stuff. So, it looks like I'm sticking. I have to get rid of a bunch of characters out of this one. Okay, and boom. So your options are, have you tried any new monetization strategies lately? Yes, and it's working. Yes, I'm still figuring it out. No, I'm sticking with the traditional methods. That one I had to edit severely, so it says something else. And then D is the last one. I'm unsure where to start. Okay, so we'll jump up here, and that's the next. Oh, did I put monetization in here twice? That's what happened. So I guess we're going to go to monetization next, even though I thought I was going to do community next. Is there a community one? I'll just leave that one up there for a bit, but we're going to talk about community next, and then we'll talk the monetization one. So they put it in a different order, because I asked a couple of different robots to help me with this one, and they put them in different orders. So I changed the order around a little bit. So to me, collaboration and community is probably next in priority after, just shifting your priorities and realizing in 2024, if you're doing the same things as you did in 2023, you're repeating history, and old history isn't interesting to people who are looking forward to the future. So hopefully people are looking forward to 2025, honestly. But, we could have another discussion about long-term strategy. But we talked about, just the fact that this is a time, this is a perfect opportunity to set yourself up for new goals or bigger goals next year. and why. And then we talked about, some of the things that might be next, seem to be next, meaning, more and more platforms all the time, the shorter and shorter content, and then going live, and being able to do live stuff. All right, so I'm going to move past monetization, which I accidentally put in here twice, and we'll go down to this collaboration and community. So how can creators leverage collaborations and build engaged communities for lasting impact? And that's what we're really talking about here. We got to make money. If your only goal is to make money, then, whatever, that's fine. But if we're trying to make money so that we can keep a project going, so that we can shed light on, XYZ, let's talk about that. So collaborations, showcasing successful collaborations between creators, analyzing different collaboration styles and their benefits. Essentially, that's all we've got, right? Is reaching out to others and sharing and having conversations and stuff. So super critical. It's probably could be debatable if it's the most important thing, but it is possible to do things on your own. You just have to be pretty good, right? You have to really do it a different way, where you do something so stunning that other people are going to keep pointing to you, even though you never acknowledge them. But in reality, it's a lot more useful to meet up with other people and see what they've got going on and share than it is to just assume you're going to do something so super amazing that other people are just going to flock to you and yell to other people about you. Again, if that's your goal, then you really got to do some weird ass shit, and you're probably not being useful in the long run, unless there's an instance of that I'm not aware of. So the collaborations is a big one. Then you've got community building strategies, sharing actionable tips on building engaged communities, fostering interaction, and retaining loyal viewers. So community building strategies, this would be a good one for an entire show, I think. I think there's a lot of potential there. So you've got we're talking about how you can build and have more impact. Well, you can do that alone, or you can do that with others, right? I've never been able to do anything by myself. I've always had other people helping me. And to do big stuff, we've had lots of people helping. I'd have to go look real quick. Oh, maybe I can look real quick, actually, if I reach my arm out and grab this little booklet. I think in this booklet, we talk about the projects that we've done. So we did a patch batch in 2019 with 262 people that raised almost $13,000 for creating a shit ton of patches to give to, well, it turns out it was 1, 2 or 3 nonprofits. And then the second year we did it in 2020, and we had 393 backers raise over $20,000 so we could do the same thing to give patches to, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nonprofits. And so that was pretty fun. Like, that was neat to create a thing where we were able to just give those organizations something, hopefully teach them. That didn't work, but teach them how, merch can be useful for their organizations. But then also just to have fun. I mean, I think the people that did that, or that were involved in that, still appreciate the project and the reasons for it. So, the community makes things possible. And nobody's got to take on a massive burden other than, maybe somebody with some time or some organization and stuff, some preparation. You can do that with others. You don't have to take on all these burdens yourself. So community building strategies, again, that could be a whole nother conversation. I guess I should probably stop and look at the comments to see if anybody's talking about any of this stuff. But yeah, so like I say, the community building, I don't want to say it's more, well, I would say it's more important than collaborations, but definitely in the same, top priorities. The next one is leveraging social media groups and Discord. So this is definitely not written by me. Discussing the effectiveness of social media groups and Discord servers for community building and creator fan interaction. So for what we're talking about here, creating impact and doing something, I don't think of people as fans. I think of them as either viewers or supporters, but they're participants really. So fan is more of the entertainment type of thing. And again, you have to cater to, you have to fluff people up constantly if you're trying to get fans. You can never say anything bad about nothing. You can never be honest. You always, everything anybody does is always amazing. Everything they buy is perfect. So, getting fans is easy. You just have to lie all the time. But, having people who interact with stuff, the social media groups, and let's just say servers. So Discord is one, but it's a pretty, I don't like it. I don't use it. And Facebook would be another, group, I guess you could say. But there's definitely ones that I enjoy more. One being called, what's it called? Gilded, which is essentially the same setup as Discord, only they don't put it on your computer like spyware, where it opens things up and looks around and installs more. And the people on Gilded, my experience, they're regular people like Foss and Gizzard, and I guess that's the only two. I think DJ's on our Gilded. But, it's just regular people over on Gilded. Oh, hey, Patriots out there. I just seen that. So I'm not going to go with the Discord part. I personally find Discord to be pretty unruly, I guess, a nice way to say it. Usually pretty lame. It's just a bunch of people getting angry and upset with each other. It's like Twitter. It's there, but pretty angry. All right, so now we'll get into monetization. So I think New York was saying, you don't have a category for me, not interested in making money from YouTube. I'll take it if people want to throw it at me, but it doesn't seem worth the effort. Well, it depends on your, like I say, on your goals or your ambition with the projects or whatever. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so you guys just chat amongst yourselves. So let's get into the monetization part. Again, you don't have to make money on YouTube. We're all capitalists, though. So there's definitely some people out there that have a problem with people making money on YouTube or making money at all. And that's usually aiming that at, because there's quite a few of them. So brand partnerships and sponsorships, demystifying brand partnerships, sponsorships, offering concrete tips on securing deals and negotiating contracts. So again, everybody's going to be doing things at different levels, and you're going to have different strategies and goals for this. But probably a whole show on this, or multiple shows. I think there's too much here than to just say other general things. Essentially, if someone is trying to sponsor their whole podcast, let's say, with one brand deal or one sponsor, that's a different type of project than having, 13 sponsors. And that's a totally different thing than having Patreon sponsors. And that's a totally different thing than some kind of a merge or combination of that. And when we talk about the collaboration part, that can be a thing too, where a sponsorship or a partnership with a brand can include efforting to grow their numbers on platforms or something. So there's definitely a lot of stuff you can do there, but it's by no means the only thing out there. And it's by no means a necessary element. There's certainly things that, if you're reviewing, some product, coffee mugs or something, you're going to get maybe coffee companies that are going to dig that. But if you review coffee mugs and you get brand A coffee mug to sponsor your show, you're never going to get brand B to be on your show or care, probably, right? It's going to be tougher. So you might be able to get a coffee sponsor if you're going to be talking about mugs. If you're going to be talking about coffees, maybe have a coffee mug sponsor. So there's ways to deal with sponsorships and partnerships and things that don't set you up for failure or don't kind of block you into a corner. But again, that's not the only thing. Just like if you were creating a magazine, before the internet, magazines existed, you could have a magazine with ads in it, and the ads pay for everything, or you can have a magazine with a subscription, and the subscription pays for it. So think of like Mad Magazine or a comic book. I guess there's some ads in those, but they're definitely not all advertising. That was probably a way to supplement or to add some extra features to the product. But you think of something like a Popular Science or something magazine. Those had half the magazine was ads, and as you're thumbing through the articles, there's ads in there. So there's different ways to create a project or to go about this type of thing. But there's definitely the subscriber base. So think of again, like a Mad Magazine. There's no ads in there really. They're just, they charge $20 a year for a subscription. They got enough subscribers and boom, they can make the magazine every month. And that works well when you don't have a set bunch of fees. Like if you're not creating a magazine, if you're creating content, typically you get to choose how much money you're going to be spending on it. So a subscription model works really well to allow you to supplement and then grow as your subscription or your memberships grow. But in addition to that, you've got merch, you've got just selling stuff. You're allowed to buy stuff and sell stuff. Guess what? That's called capitalism. You're allowed to find sources of things. Let's say you went to SHOT Show and you found a place that sells, I don't know, chocolate covered something, and you wanted to buy that at wholesale and then sell it on your website, or sell it as, I don't know, some kind of project. We're going to sell 30 of these, and once they're sold, this is going to happen. I want to make patches. I want to make stickers or something. I want to make, something with our logo on it, and that's expensive. It can be $500. So we're going to buy $200 worth of this product. That's going to get us $700 worth of income. So then we can pay off the product and buy the $500 worth of things. And now everybody who bought one of the products can get a thing for free because they paid for it or helped pay for the whole thing, or maybe they get a discount. So there's lots of ways to be creative with your merch. Now you can do your logos. We talk to people all the time who do their logos, and your mom likes your logo, and you probably like your logo, and your kids might like your logo. You might be on a logo thing and put it on your dog, but everybody else in the world wants to wear a t-shirt, or a hat or something. So you could also come up with merch that's funny or cool, or has a vibe or something, or something. So you're allowed to do merch that isn't just your logo. A lot of people tend to think, oh, merch, who wants to buy my logo? Yeah, I agree with you. Nobody wants to buy your logo, but people want to buy cool shit. So you're allowed to make cool shit and sell it and use that to fund your projects. In fact, if you think about it, that's happening all the time. There's other ways to do this as well. You could have a channel where you're like, hey, you know what? Having a fountain in your toilet is the best way to go. So follow my bidet of the day. And, every day I'm going to tell you about a new bidet deal over at, one of the largest shopping platforms on the planet or something. And something as simple as that might get you out of debt. You never know. So there's tons of ways to make money creating stuff, especially if you have the skill set as a content creator. Let's not forget that you are not required to put everything under one label. You probably have the ability to have more than one channel on whatever platforms we're talking about here. So if you're trying to monetize your shit, think about doing more than one thing. You don't have to monetize your friends in order to have time for your friends. You don't have to monetize your passion in order to have time for your passion. You can monetize 2 hours of your day and spend 8 hours of your day on your passion, or whatever time you got available. If you got 6 hours available, monetize an hour of that to pay for the 5 hours. There's lots of ways to deal with this. So we're about to move on to future forecasting. We're doing pretty good. We might actually make this an hour show. But we have actual diversity in results. What? So let's take a look at the results over here. Have you tried new monetizations lately? We've got yes, and it's working at 17%. Yes, but I'm still figuring out at 50%. No, sticking with traditional methods at 17%, and unsure where to start at 17%. If I would have had space, I could have put in there not interested maybe for New York, but I'm thinking people that are ambitious and creating content, would like to do more. And usually that means, unless they're financially independent, that means funding it, figuring out a way to make it pay for itself so that you can spend more and more time doing it. And think of it again, this is in this portion of it, this monetization part, this is a recipe. This is a formula, right? This is your proportions. It's definitely possible to spend 20% of your time monetizing 100% of your project. If your project is passion and you don't want to wipe sales all over it, go put sales over there. Go do something that isn't sales. Find somebody who also has your passion and wants to fund it and doesn't want to put a lot of obligations on you. I definitely know people that are sponsored by people who didn't require them to brand, all over the place. Hey, this was sponsored by so-and-so. So there are people out there as capitalists who do understand that things aren't free, and that a lot of times it can be a couple of $100 a month and a project can keep going, where, without that couple of hundred, the project has to be put to the side so that other things can happen, in life. So people understand that. And if you just are silent about it, guess what happens? Nothing. But if you let people know, hey, here's what I'm trying to do and here's how I'd like to get there, you'll find people that are interested in helping you out often. All right, so I guess we have another poll here. Would you prefer to see more content about? I guess it's a weird way to phrase it. Would you prefer to see more content about? I'm going to put what in there because that doesn't even sound like a question. You may not realize it, but the puppy co-host has been sleeping this whole time. He has almost no interest in any of this. So what would you prefer to see more content about? Collaboration strategies, community building tactics. That's an interesting way to phrase that. Future platform trends. I would like to have a conversation about that with somebody who actually wants to have a conversation about it. All of the above. Dun, dun, dun. A basket. All right, so feel free to participate in this last poll of the day. Thanks to everybody who's been participating in them. Like say, live is real. So I appreciate the people that join us live and are part of this. For the people that are listening to the podcast in the future, and for some reason you can't, just clear out your schedule every Tuesday morning for the show. They probably appreciate the fact that y'all are participating and making it interesting. Let's see. So I'm going to do a couple of things here real quick. I'm going to go see if Cape Gunworks has a show scheduled or not yet, because I started doing this show on Tuesday mornings instead of in the middle of the night, because I'd rather do shows in the middle of the night because I'm a night person. I appreciate the people that do everything in the middle of the night that everybody takes for granted. So I prefer to do my shows in the middle of the night, but I started doing this one in the morning so that we could be the opening act for Cape Gunworks when they do their 2A Tuesday segment with Grace Curley, but they have not yet posted that. Whenever it happens, I'll attempt to find the link and jam it into this thing so that everyone gets recommended to go over there. And more importantly, as importantly, the YouTube logarithm sees that our giant channel is linking to their channel to hopefully give them a little assistance. All this kind of stuff is what we have Gun Channels, or what Gun Channels has evolved into. Gun Channels used to be a giant community with 1 million views a month, and when that all went away in 2020, I kind of put it back together as a place for people who have similar interests can collaborate and work together. So if you're interested in that, check out Gun Channels and chat with us. But any kind of specific coaching, or if you'd like to have a chat about your specific situation, a lot of this is generalities. A lot of this hopefully is designed to inspire or motivate, but it's fairly general. So if you want to have specific questions, I'm more than happy to help out. If I can, you can definitely pay me for that if you want to. So future forecasting, we'll take a look at predicting the next big trends and opportunities that content creators need to know. All right, so we've got emerging technology and trends. We've got the impact of tech like AI, virtual reality, and the metaverse on content creation and audience engagement. Nobody ever talks about the metaverse anymore after AI came around. But essentially, the metaverse is a VR. It's there's enhanced reality at this point. Is that what AR is? So we've got AI, which is robot brains that are doing really interesting things all over the place. We've got augmented reality. That's probably what AR is, huh? Where you wear a mask that lets you assign digital stuff to stuff in reality, and it anchors it to reality. And that's definitely where we're going. I mean, that's definitely just the beginning of that. Then we've got virtual reality, where you go into a world that doesn't exist, but you can do a lot of the augmented reality stuff in there. And then we got the metaverse. And again, I think that's misunderstood, but that is coming. Like, that is a thing. Here's the easiest way to describe it. Where can you go in reality right now and not be filmed? Think about that for a second. Where do you live? Can you walk outside and not be filmed? Can you walk outside your front door and not be filmed? How many Ring cameras are in your neighborhood? How far down the street can you walk before a Ring camera sees you? How many of those Ring cameras are connected to the same? Oh, wait, they're all connected to the same server. That's just the Ring cameras. Do you understand what 5G is? If you have a 5G phone, how many entities know exactly where you are on planet Earth right now? So understanding the way technology is going, you know that on planet Earth, there's nowhere you can hide. You're going to be able to go somewhere privately, but everyone on the planet knows where you are. And if you go somewhere privately and someone else goes somewhere privately, guess who knows where those two private people are together? So what metaverse creates potentially is a way to go into that, what's that thing called on the holodeck? They know you're in the holodeck. They know you're sitting there on virtual reality. They know you're in the metaverse. But now you've created essentially a skip between where you are and what you're doing, and that's going to be super important in the future. You might ignore it right now, but everybody ignored the internet when it was coming out too. This isn't sitting still. We're not done. This isn't the peak of technology. It's still developing in ways we can't imagine. So being aware of this, again, it's 2024. Like, they're already talking about things that are crazy. We have cars that drive each other or drive themselves. We all know that, right? We have Uber instead of taxi cabs. We have people that don't even know what a taxi cab is. So don't think about how kids answer a phone. Let's talk about everything is changing. So when you're creating content and stuff, and you're going to sit back and lean into whatever you did last year, which is probably a version of what you did the year before, not only you're in competition with everybody who isn't sitting there, but you're in competition with everybody who jumps in today. And with the awareness of what's going on today, starts their projects today. You got to be aware of this stuff. Or if you just, I don't know, I guess you don't have to, but if you're interested in being aware of this stuff and interested in talking about this stuff, we can definitely have more conversations about it. That being said, the stuff exists. Who cares, right? Well, audiences care. Do you think that they're going to sit around and watch, I don't know, whatever I was doing online 10 years ago, when I can go do images on AI of the puppy jumping out of an airplane or the puppy fighting dinosaurs? Like, I can do all kinds of stuff now with AI that I could never do years ago. And audiences aren't going to wait around for somebody who just doesn't like AI to listen to their opinion about something. It's possible you'll find a couple of people, but the audiences are going to go where it's interesting. They're going to go where it's cool or what's new. And if you're not attempting to be aware, at least, if not utilize some of that stuff, then you're only going to get so much audience as leftover, right? Let's see, discussing the future of the creator economy, potential regulatory changes, and its impact on content creators. Oh, shit. It's an interesting aspect, and there's no way that people can continue to make millions of dollars by fucking off online and not have massive consequences in taxes and regulation. So there are definitely people making millions of dollars. You know of them. You probably watch them. Like, I know that they exist, but I don't watch them. But, they exist, and there's a zillion of them. they're making a shit ton of money, and there's only so much time before somebody decides this is all a occupation that needs more attention. And, at that time it's going to be different again. So I don't think there's an imminent end to that, but I'm sure that that's something to be aware of. Let's see. Weston is saying AR is augmented reality, overlays the real world, overlays on the real world. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. That's that new Apple thing, essentially. Let's see. You can use an app to make your 5G phone run on 4G for free, and it actually works. Well, that's cool. 5G is 5G. It's different than 4G. Turn and face the strange. Is that what that lyric really is? Gear Report is out there. Welcome. Audiences are already rejecting the death of real human-generated content. I don't know about that. I hated the forced shift to 5G. My phones can't grab much 5G signal. Yeah, I get if I look at my signal, I was playing with my signals the other day, trying to hook up to some equipment, and I think if I did a speed test on the phone inside the house and outside the house, my 5G is insane fast outside the house and very slow inside the house, probably because I have a lot of stupid things in my house that are made out of metal. But yeah, 5G is different for sure. It's not going anywhere. All right, so what would you prefer to see more content about is the poll. And again, we have some diversity, but as I suspected, whenever there's a basket like that for all of the above, that's usually what wins, right? So collection or collaboration strategies, more content about collaboration, 17%. Community building tactics, 33%. Nobody cares about future platform trends. Is it blatantly apparent how old-fashioned everybody listening to this show live is? I hope the people that are listening to this podcast, which vastly outnumber the people that watch it live, are going to just shout out in the comments wherever you listen to the podcast at, or come back over here to YouTube and shout it in the comments. But come on, seriously, everybody's that happy with YouTube? I mean, I wish YouTube was evolving. YouTube used to evolve. What's the last thing they did? Shorts? What's the community tab? The community tab has the most potential of anything on YouTube, and it hasn't changed in forever. They gave us a poll or something. They gave us image polls. It was kind of neat, right? But come on, we've got a lot of potential out there. So I guess I'll end that one. Oh, so all of the above was 50%, of course, which, like I say, kind of makes sense. Let's see. Because they're just saying 5G UW underwater is even better if you can get it. I never had underwater 5G. Let's see. What's the point in trying to guess what YouTube will do or what will replace YouTube? I've been doing that for quite a while, and I find interest in it. I don't know if there's a point other than the thought what's the word? The mind game of it or whatever. Well, it's hard to know what you're going to do today when the world's walking right past you, but you're allowed to do that, I guess. Gear Report is saying, I'll focus on what I can do today. So the only way I know what to do today is when I know what's coming. You can, if you're driving, you don't care about where you are. You care about what's next, right? So if you're not looking out the windshield at what's next, you're in a car, but you're not driving. You're not going anywhere. If you're more worried about, how the car's doing and the car is in good shape, you're parked. Gizzard is saying 5G underwater equals 5G ultra wide, way faster than 5G. Oh, okay. I have to go do some more research then. Let's see. It's only been since Foss started doing polls that I pay attention to the community tab. Oh, well, you're in the minority then, because the community tab shows up as a post to everyone. So you can really get a lot of coverage of things. And since you can do polls, you get a lot of feedback. It's actually the most interesting thing on YouTube, aside from live chats, in my opinion. All right. With that, though, thanks everybody for joining us live so that we don't end up just having a conversation here in the chats. I'll end this one. We do have this over on the Substack where you can take a look at it with some decent formatting. You can subscribe to us over on Substack. I was going to take a second here to just chat up our Substack. It's kind of neat. If I go to the dashboard over there and go to my stats, this is, I think, a year's worth essentially. So you kind of see, we get some views. I can kind of go back on here and I could probably look and see, what was so interesting here. And I could double down on that if I was, interested to do that. But then down here, it tells you where you're getting stuff and stuff. Where did I find that other stuff? Like who's sending you stuff? Oh, here we go. And then I can go to subscriber report and look at this. I can see where people are. That's kind of cool. 33% in California, which is pretty much our YouTube demographic as well. Like we get a lot of views from California. I don't even focus on California that much, so I do appreciate that. And then we get a lot from Texas. Now it might just be a population thing. But then again, you can kind of see the different states. You would think we get a lot of views from Arizona. We have one subscriber in Arizona. But then I can also see which audiences sent us people. So how do I see that? If I go to reader sharing, maybe? Nope, that's probably not the way I want to do it. Sorry about that. But over here, you can see that these different podcasts or different blog posts, I guess, different blogs that I follow on Substack. I don't follow them all, I guess, because I only follow a couple of these. But casual and tactical, 29% of our readers overlap. It's kind of neat. Open source defense, I definitely read them, 22%. So I thought that was kind of neat. You can kind of get a lot of interesting stats over here. So that's another reason I like Substack. So if you're interested in getting more reach, but then also getting something useful, you can post things like this is essentially what we posted here was essentially the video description from this video. Like I say, I can format it a little nicer so that it's usable for human eyes to read a little easier. But, it just took me 5 or 6 minutes to do that after typing it all up. And boom, now it's a post over there. And like I say, now you have some analytics with it. It also is neat because if you care about website stuff, which maybe we'll get into that, the stuff today didn't include website stuff, but anybody ever wants to talk about website stuff, we could definitely talk about that. But when you start talking about backlinks and how weighted links are, like Substack is the shit. So I really like Substack. Weston is saying Substack is pretty cool. I follow several folks over there. Yeah, I'm doing the same. And then it's neat because I think you just have to say email me. You'll just get an email when somebody posts something. So it's pretty cool. Ferris Bueller quote, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. Yeah. I understand Ferris Bueller, but I didn't watch Ferris Bueller for Ferris Bueller, if you know what I'm saying. Let's see. A lot of creators are using their community tabs because they're just saying a lot of creators are using their community tab to interact with their viewers. If you're not checking that, you're missing out for sure. There's a lot of people making money on that community tab. So if you're looking at funding or monetizing, that community tab is pretty powerful too. Let's see. All right, well, Sheep Fires are taking off, so we're out of here. All right, thanks, everybody. Check out Sheep Fires on Sunday. Check out Brooke Cheney on Saturday. There will be an overnight this weekend on Saturday night, but there's also a show tomorrow night from Foss. That'll be fun, the Wednesday Mouse Party. I'm going to attempt to do a game show back before the Mouse Party, so if that's possible, I'll try adding that this week to the rotation. Who am I missing? Snob joins regularly on Gizzards' show on Friday nights, and I think I'm hitting everything that's out here, everybody that's out here. Thanks again for joining us live. If you're listening as a podcast, you know what to do. Give us a thumb up or a star or whatever. Those are much appreciated, as the podcast platforms only care about interaction. They can't really do much more than assume you listened, but the interaction gives them some indication that you appreciate the show. We definitely appreciate that. I'm going to do a quick commercial for our gear website store, and we just grabbed a bunch I think the correct terminology is a buttload of patches from the SHOT Show. We offer free patches all the time, not just on Friday. So buy stuff from us, get free patches.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Oh, just noted that Bullets for Bucks is joining us. Welcome. Good quote. All right, take it easy, everybody. I'll put this up here in case Patriot's still out there.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!